In this lecture, we're going to add motor drivers so that our steering controller, which we actually need to name, let me do that. Here's my steering, or our controller. Let's name it, we're going to name it double hashtag controller. And that's just going to move it to the top of the alphabet in lists. All right, so we need to add some drivers so that when we change this value, it will change how fast the vehicle is accelerating. So let's come down here to our motor, which is this rigid body constraint. And we're going to come down here and we have our target velocity. So let's come over here and we're going to right click and say add driver. And you get this little menu here. And it's actually a lot easier if you do show in drivers editor. So let's do that. And now we can write some code to affect how much acceleration that motor is going to produce. Actually, this is going to affect the target velocity. So the expression we want is, we want the target velocity to be 0 if brake is greater than 0. So if there's any braking, we want the target velocity to be 0. Else, we want it to be 100 if acceleration is greater than 0. Else, -50. So we have kind of a 3-layered if statement here. So if there's any braking, we just want the vehicle to slow down. So the target velocity is going to be 0. If the acceleration is greater than 0 and the braking is 0, then we want the target velocity to be 100. And depending on how big you made your wheel rigid bodies, you probably made them about the same size as me. So that's about 75 miles per hour in this case. So if the acceleration is greater than 0 and braking is 0, then the target velocity is going to be 100. And if the acceleration is not positive, it's negative, it's going to be -50. So we do have an error here. You probably saw that. That's because we haven't set up our variables. So let's set those up real quick. So we need 3 variables. We need 2 variables, sorry. We need brake and acceleration. So I'm going to add another variable. This one's going to be brake. And we want it to be a single property. So select that here. And we're going to just pick the controller, which is the first in the alphabet conveniently. And then to target our braking custom property, what you want to do is open square brackets, open double quotes, and then do brake, close square, double quotes, close square bracket, like that. And then we want Excel, and we want our controller also, and we want to target Excel, like that. All right, now you shouldn't have any errors, but it might say Python restricted for security. If you click in here and then click out, that should go away if you typed everything correctly. All right, let's make a driver for the max impulse. So add driver, show in drivers editor. So this is going to be the torque applied to the wheel. And this expression is going to be brake times 2. And remember, our braking and acceleration are percentages. So we probably want to multiply them by some scalar multiplier. And that's what the 2 times 2 is. So instead of being from 0 to 100, our braking torque is going to be from 0 to 200. So we want brake times 2 if brake is greater than 0. Else, we want the absolute value of acceleration. And then we want a scalar value here too. We're going to do 0.5. Okay. And so we need 2 variables. We want this one to be a single property. It's going to be called brake. We want the controller. And we want to target the brake Same, and then this one needs to be Excel. Target the controller and get the Excel custom property. Okay, and we don't have any errors. If I click in here and out, there's no warnings either. All right, make sure to save it. We're gonna test this. Actually, we're not gonna test it quite yet because we need to copy it to the other side. So let's select this this rigid body constraint, and I'm gonna right click and say copy driver, then select the one on the other side and do paste driver, and do the same thing for the impulse. Copy driver and paste driver, like that. Okay, now I'll save it and we're going to test it out. So I'm going to pick the controller and I'm going to just put in 10 and we'll see what happens. So it's starting to go forward. If I increase this, it goes forward faster. If I go backwards, will it go backwards? It starts to go backwards. If I go back positive, it'll go forward, and let's see if our braking's working. And brake. All right, it looks like that's working. Hopefully yours is too.